What's going on, guys? This is David here. In today's video, we're going to be checking out 10 of the best free iOS 11.3.1 jailbreak tweaks. Before we get into the video, however, I did just want to quickly mention that there were two packages that were released by Coolstar earlier, Cydia GUI only and Cydia compatibility package. I knew a lot of you guys were probably going to be asking me about that. Do not install either of these right now. This basically is for Coolstar's new package manager, SimpleLSiOS, however you say it. And there were a bunch of issues where Cydia would just disappear for people if you installed it. So right now, do not install this. Check out my Twitter, linked below in the description, and I will let you guys know when you actually can install this and when it's a good idea to. Don't do it right now. SimpleLSiOS, however you want to say it, isn't even released yet, so don't worry about updating just yet. Also, when I compiled this list of tweaks, Packix was actually a default repo on the Electra jailbreak. So almost all of these tweaks are Packix instead of Big Boss or anything like that. If Packix is not default for you, the repo to actually get Packix will be on your screen right now. Coolstar has since said that the Packix repo will be re-added to the Electra jailbreak probably, so you'll probably see an update for the Electra jailbreak at some point soon, and Packix repo will be default again. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started in today's video. Starting off the list at number 10, we have kind of a little bit of an interesting tweak. It's called Oof. This is that meme that you're familiar with, the Roblox death sound. If you haven't heard it by now, there you go. So there's not that much more to this tweak besides adding comedic effects to your phone and bringing the sound over to your device anytime you close out of an application. So it's kind of funny because, you know, I'll be talking to my friends on the phone or over FaceTime or whatever, and I'll close an app and totally forget that I have this installed, and we'll be talking about something and it totally goes with the conversation. So it's just funny, and for that reason alone, because sometimes I would just forget that it was even there, and it would just add comedic effect to like my phone calls or FaceTime calls or whatever. For that reason alone, I wanted to include it in this video. And by the way, in case you guys were curious, yes, you can disable the tweak. That's part of the reason I put this in here. You can disable the tweak if it's getting on your nerves, and believe me, I've done that. At number 9, we have bar in progress. And this is sort of an interesting tweak because at first, I actually thought this was something that was in iOS by default. It was definitely in macOS, and I really thought it was in iOS, but turns out this was actually a feature that was removed at some point in iOS. If a message is taking too long to send, then you'll see the progress indicator. But the progress indicator isn't actually always shown by default. So what this tweak does is actually show you the progress of sending a message by default in every message you send. So throughout the duration of me showing you this tweak, I'm sure you guys are like, how did he do that with his Messages app? This tweak is called Dark Messages. It gives your Messages app just a nice dark mode, a nice looking tone to the app. And this is something that can be done with one tweak called Dark Messages, and it's not something that you have to use Noctis or any of the other dark mode tweaks for. Sure, those tweaks are nice, but if you don't want a complete dark interface and you just want dark messages, well, this tweak has you covered. Back in 2014, this was my favorite tweak. I can say it's crazy to have this updated for iOS 11. At number 7, we have, well, let me show you. Okay, so it's 2018 and this tweak is old by now, but still, come on, this is awesome. I have to give CP Digital Darkroom credit where credit is due. Filippo Bigarella, who actually developed tweaks like Springtomize, originally brought this tweak to life, but 5 years later, CP is still updating this tweak and still maintaining it to this day. Crazy. Honestly, when CP first updated this tweak and it started working back on like iOS 8, iOS 9, all that kind of stuff, I've been saying for years now, an awesome tweak idea is, well, let me show you something that I think can be really cool. My point of showing you guys that is it's to show off that while this tweak might still be from 2013, you can put a modernized twist on this actual tweak. My tweak idea is basically to have an equalizer type situation going on where no matter what song you play, the icons will actually dance along to whatever the song is, whatever the rhythm, whatever the beat, whatever. You know, if it's a high note in a song, you know, the icons will go one way. If it's a low note, you know, it might not move at all. Whatever. I think it is potentially possible. I would love to see this idea that I've had for years now actually get turned into a tweak. So if anybody's watching this right now that's a developer that wants to make this idea a reality, please do not hesitate to actually make this tweak a reality, because this would be an awesome tweak and I definitely will feature it here on the channel. This tweak I honestly didn't realize needed to be stock until I installed this tweak. At number 6, we have Sugarcane. As you guys can see in our control center, we now have an option to see the percentages of both the volume slider and of the brightness slider. So yeah, this is gonna wind up being in my tweaks video. This is a good tweak. I couldn't have not included it. At number 5, we have Little 10, or is it Little X? Whatever you want to call it. It basically mimics iPhone 10 gestures and the iPhone 10 look. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you the notch. And I know a lot of people, when I say that, if they have an iPhone 10, they're like, why would you even want the notch in the first place? It just doesn't look right. For the iPhone 10, there's entire tweaks of just completely getting rid of the notch with just software blending it into the background. So why would you even want that? Well, if you're trying to make your iPhone look like the iPhone 10, you're trying to complete that look, maybe you do want the notch. I know it sounds a little weird. I know it sounds a little crazy, especially for those of you guys that have an iPhone 10 that just do not like the notch whatsoever. And I get that. I understand. But at the same time, if you're trying to complete that look, maybe that's something that you want. Of course there is the lock screen, and that's what I've just been showing you guys. But there's so much more than just the lock screen. If you swipe down from the top, you get the control center. It's the same gesture as you would find on a regular iPhone 10. For whatever reason, when you go into Twitter, it says device restored using this tweak. I don't know why. I don't know what that means, but it's sort of something interesting. You can swipe up on that little bar, and you can close out of the app, just like on the iPhone 10. All of these gestures are iPhone 10 features. And of course, just as you would expect, to close out of an app, you tap and hold, or you can just simply swipe up on the card and you can kill the application. You can also swipe from app to app just to use it as sort of an app switcher. Basically, every iPhone 10 gesture that you know and love, or some maybe that you don't entirely love, you can have on non-iPhone 10 devices. So likely at some point, most of you guys will get a new device, and if you don't have an iPhone 10 yet, you are going to have to get accustomed to these different gestures because they probably won't bring back the home button. So that's just something to remember. The way of the future is probably an iPhone with just gestures and no home button. I almost wasn't going to include this in the main list of tweaks because I've had a bunch of issues with this tweak. It looks kind of nice and it functions sort of nice, but there's some issues with this tweak I've had, you know, small issues going from the whole device restored message that I've been seeing on Twitter pop up every now and again, and then also just random crashes, random freezes, random things that just shouldn't really be happening in the tweak. So keep that in mind. If you install this tweak, you might experience some bugs, some freezes, that kind of stuff. Hopefully that gets fixed eventually though. Have you ever wanted to find an app but you can't because it's just stuffed somewhere in a folder and you try and try and try and you can't find it? Lead Me Home solves just that problem. All you have to do is go into Spotlight Search and search for a particular app and long hold on that app and it should bring you to wherever that application is. So we're going to do just that right now. So we're going to do that on the Xbox app, and it might take a little bit getting used to if you're used to 3D touching, but you guys can see it brings me directly to Xbox. We're going to do that now with the Instagram application. There you go. So this is really useful and really handy for those of you guys that use folders. I don't use a lot of folders on my device, but if you are someone that uses folders a lot and you just for whatever reason cannot find that particular app that you're looking for, this will help you find it. So the first tweak that I actually thought about when I took a look at this was Quick Center, but then I realized I was wrong because all that did was bring 3D touch settings to Control Center, which is something we already have by default. CC Linker makes it so if you tap and hold on a Control Center panel, it will open the settings or whatever it is for that particular control. So if I tapped on Bluetooth, you guys can see it opens up the Bluetooth menu. If I was to tap into the music widget, it would open up whatever I have specified. So I actually have Spotify specified. It's really nice because you can go into the settings and you can fine tune specifically what you want. If you tap and hold on low power, well, you guessed it, it's going to bring up the low power mode settings. And then obviously anything else you tap into, it will bring up the settings for that. So I feel like at some point there's definitely been another tweak on older firmwares that have done this, but CC Linker is an iOS 11 tweak that is pretty awesome, and I do definitely recommend it. This tweak is actually on Big Boss, so you can go, you can check it out, and you can see for yourself what you think. Although the last two tweaks on this list are fairly popular among top tweak videos, I still had to include it because they're really good tweaks. At number 2, we have Artsy. Basically, what Artsy does is whatever song you're playing, the album artwork for that song will actually display over the lock screen and the now playing interface. I gotta say, in conjunction with our number 1 tweak, it looks fantastic. These two tweaks are just aesthetically pleasing. I don't know why, I don't know what about it, but both Artsy and our number 1 tweak just look nice. And if you know what the number 1 tweak is, then you probably have spotted it by now. So before I get to my number 1 top tweak pick, here are some honorable mentions that didn't make the cut. These were either because it was hard to show it off on video, or because I just didn't think it was good enough to be the number 1 spot. The basic idea of this is actually really cool. Haptic Clock makes it so that if you have an activator action set, say if I decide to shake my device, depending on what the time is, it would actually send out haptic vibrations through your phone, letting you actually know what time it is. While it does that, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So, you guys probably can't hear that, but my device is completely unresponsive. Can't unlock it, can't lock it, can't swipe from page to page, can't use any app. I literally cannot do a single thing on my device until this is over. And then you can see we're at the lock screen now. So if I try the same thing on the lock screen instead of while I'm on the home screen, it'll still work. But just like being on the home screen, my device is completely unresponsive and completely frozen. I can't go into the flashlight, I can't go into the camera, I can't open up my device, I can't lock it. I literally cannot do a single thing on my device until this is actually done. So honestly, super creative and super awesome idea for a tweak, and an awesome idea I can get behind, but someone needs to just update this and put the fixes necessary so that way it doesn't render devices completely unusable. So when it works, not something I really can show you, but it's really cool. Essentially, if it is 804 as it is right now when I'm actually voiceovering this, you'll have haptic feedback 8 times, then it'll hesitate, and then, you know, you might not get haptic feedback at all because it's a 0, and then you'll get haptic feedback again 4 other times just to let you know it's 804. So it's a cool little concept, basically just telling you the time without actually you having to go and physically look and check to see what time it is. So I'm sure you guys that are veterans in the jailbreak community know what Springtomize 4 is. That's the reason why it's in honorable mentions. Also, it does cost money and purchases aren't enabled in iOS 11 by default, so that is the reason why I have it in honorable mentions. Essentially, this part is just to let you guys know how I'm getting seconds displayed on my device, because it's a cool little feature that I feel like isn't that known in Springtomize. So if you do have Springtomize 4 installed, what you would have to do to get this to work is go into the status bar and toggle on display seconds. One of the main reasons, again, why this is in honorable mentions is it's just a tweak that's been around for a long time, but I figured you guys would be curious because if I tweet something out, if I tweet a screenshot out, you guys are going to be like, how did he get seconds on his device? Well, that's how I did it. iCleaner's a tweak that's been on my radar for a while, and honestly, I don't know why I've never featured it in a Top Tweaks video. It's really convenient if you want to get rid of cached files or anything that's just unnecessarily taking space on your device. Well, you can get rid of it, and you can actually clear up a lot of space. There used to be a way, and there probably still is, of just being able to disable certain tweaks, like just being able to go in there and completely turn off certain tweaks. I couldn't remember for the life of me of how to actually do that, so I was scrambling around while I was recording this part, trying to figure out how to do it, but I just couldn't figure it out. So if you remember how to do that, by all means, like, go and do it, and, you know, it definitely makes this tweak more useful when you actually can do that. But, you know, if you're looking for something to easily clean space, you know, if you need a gigabyte or 2 gigabytes, if you are really low on space, this is going to come in handy for you. And yes, I know it's technically not a tweak because it's more of an app, but we've called Anemone and Winterboard and all those other things tweaks in quotation, so I'm going to consider it a tweak for this video. And last but not least, our number 1 tweak is... Can I get a drum roll? I said, can I get a drum roll? Our number 1 tweak is Mitsuha 11. Now this is an awesome tweak. This tweak itself blends really nicely with another tweak from earlier in this list, Artsy. Mitsuha is a creative tweak because not only does it blend well with Artsy, but it also utilizes what I was talking about, that equalizer idea, except obviously it's not what I'm talking about with the apps. It's just, you can see how depending on the beat and the rhythm of the sound, there are waveforms that are moving, and this is a really cool tweak because not only does it work on the lock screen, it works literally throughout everything. The lock screen, the home screen, the music application you're in, anything it works in. So you guys can see in Control Center, if I actually go into my Control Center, you guys can see it actually works there. It works in Spotify. It works everywhere. And honestly, with Artsy working in conjunction with this tweak, so you can have the album artwork in the background, it just looks super, super nice all the way around. Alright guys, that pretty much wraps up today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to go down below in the description and check out all of my various social media, especially Periscope, because I don't shout this out a lot on YouTube, but I do live stream on Periscope. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get notified about future videos and future content on the channel. YouTube doesn't always love to push videos out to sub boxes, especially if you have a smaller YouTube channel. So the way to counteract that is turning that bell on, as well as following me on both of my Twitters, my YouTube channel Twitter at The Apple Attack, and my Jailbreak Busters Twitter at Jailbreak Buster. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, this is David, signing out. Have a good one, guys. Peace. I'm finally done.